Hey buddy, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick and I'm happy to have you here today. In this video, we are going to look at how to connect SignalR between Web API and Blazor WebAssembly. You know, SignalR, it is real-time communication library in ASP.NET Core. It allows server code to push content to connected client instantly. As soon as the server gets it, it pushes it to all the connected clients. In Blazor applications, you might use SignalR to create interactive features such as live chat, real-time data updates, such as stock tickets, sports scores, or social media feeds. So in all, SignalR actually implements some features that can enable you to update a client instantly as soon as the server receives data. ASP.NET Core team has made it very simple and easier to integrate SignalR in your application. So let's see how to go about this in this video. What I have already done here is I have created a solution added to project. These projects are .NET Web API and also Blazor WebAssembly. That is the only thing that I have done. And I believe you can do that, isn't it? Great. So do that. Now, in .NET API, SignalR is already part of it. So you don't need to install that. But when it comes to the client, that's the WebAssembly, that is where we need to install a SignalR package. So take note, we're going to install only one package for now, and that's going to be the package for the Blazor WebAssembly. Okay, so if I go to my solution, that is what I have. I have a solution here with two projects, API and our WebAssembly. That is a default one. As soon as you create, this is what you get. So for our SignalR integration, this is what we're going to do. We are going to allow the system or the SignalR Hub to broadcast message as a notification to your client connected as soon as a new user connects to the hub. And when the connected user disconnects or stops the connection, we want to also notify the rest of the client. So when you get connected, we want to notify client that maybe this ID has connected. When it disconnects, we want to also notify the rest of the client that you are gone. You see? Yeah, so let's handle that. So the very first thing that we need to do here is to create our hub. Aside from that, we need to register a SignalR service and also create our SignalR URL. That's an address. We can do that in the program.cs file. So make sure you have a web API creator. That's I've done mine. You go to your program.cs file, and now here we're going to add better the services. So in here we can add SignalR. It is already. Aside from this, we need to map the endpoint, that's the route to the SignalR, and that's going to be the app.map. And here we can use hub. So this map hub, we need to create a class that's going to be the hub. Okay, so let's say this is connection hub or SignalR. This is SignalR connection hub. And after that, what we're going to do here is we need to specify the route. So here we're going to say connect. Now let's create a class for this. So I'm going to create a folder in here and I'll name it as SignalR Hubs. And in that, let's create a class. Name it as SignalR, the one that we specified here. We have to make sure we have the same thing. So do the same, and now we have something like this. I believe we have same, isn't it? Great. So with this has to inherit from a hub. So this hub, and now this is coming from this namespace. Good. So in here, we want to specify two methods. These we are overriding the default method. That is when user gets connected and now when user get disconnected. So these are the methods that you want to do, and in that we are specifying some parameters in it. The first one here, it is when the user gets connected to this hub. So if the user gets connected, this is the first method that's going to get called. Now in that, you see we are getting all clients who have connected to the hub, and now we want to send a message to them that this current user has joined. And now maybe you can put it, say hi to it. So maybe you can remove this. We don't need to have a new line. So let's say hi to him. Let's assume it's a male, right? Say hi to him or her. You can do that. Good. So now that we have this, when the user gets connected, this is the method that's going to get called. We're going to send a message to all the clients connected. We pass in the current contest ID, and that is a current user ID. Good. Now here, where do we get this? Contest.connection ID is going to be generated as soon as you get connected to the hub. It is inbuilt, and you get that ID anytime a client connects to the hub. Okay, so that's where we are extracting it from. The same thing applies to undisconnected async. So when the user disconnects from the hub, this method will get called. And in that, you also want to notify all clients. We pass the same contest ID. You see? And now here we are adding just left. You can handle this here, or you can handle this in the client. This, you handle this in the server, and now we can handle this in the client. I prefer having it in the server, okay? But if you think you prefer it in the client, then you can pass in the client ID. And now when this method gets erased, you can just add this string to that. But well, let's maintain this for now. Now that we have this hub created with two methods specified here neatly, what we need to do here is to save this. We have a connection created and then registered in the program. So we are done. We are done with our hub connection creation. Now let's go to the client and let's start to consume this and also subscribe to this method, so that as soon as this gets raised, we can have that method being called. Alright, so in the WebAssembly, let's also create a folder in here, and I'll name this, let's say this also SignalR Connections. So maybe we can actually add a class, a C# class library, and we can add this service to that. So anytime that you want to connect to another WebAssembly, you just have to consume that library in that project, and that is all. So instead of putting it here, you want to make it expandable so you can be using it in another project. But for now, let's maintain this. And in that, let's create a class, and on this class, we're going to name this as SignalR Connection. So this SignalR Connection here is going to get called, you're going to get the connection. You're going to subscribe to this anytime that a client gets connected. And now in that, what are the things that you're going to be doing here? We want to have a state. So first of all, let's have a connection state change. Now this is going to be an action. Now the reason why I am doing this is, I'm going to have state. Now this state is going to be like connected, connection, disconnected, and etc. So all the state, we can handle that. And now we want to give a live feed on the state that the user is currently in. So if the user is connected, we want to display beneath connected. If it is disconnected, you want to display disconnected. Okay, so in that, this can be changed anytime. So when this gets changed, we want to notify the current component, okay, to get rendered. And that's the reason why I am having this action, to get it rendered. And in that, you need to build a connection. So in order to build that connection, let's see, this is what we're going to do. We can specify our connection as read only, and now we give it a name. So you can see that before that we can have this error gone, we have to install the package. So nope, don't worry, let's go and install this package. So on the WebAssembly, we're going to right click on dependencies. Maybe let's try to manage by adding a new package. The name of this package is a Microsoft.asnetcode.signalr.client. So make sure you have this package installed beautifully in your project. Great, now it is installed. So when you go to the connection, you can just click on this and use the reference in here. Aside from that, once you have this connection, what we're going to do here is we're going to specify with the URL. So with that URL, since we are connecting to the API, we need to specify the absolute URI in here, and that's the local host. And now from here, we have this connect. Now, what is the port of your web API? If you don't know, go to your API properties folder, and now click on line settings.json, and now you're going to specify the HTTPS down here, 7095. So grab that. Now replace it with this, and that is all. Aside from that, what you need to do here is to add build. So you see, integrating this or implementing this is very simple, isn't it? Now the next thing I need to do here is, since we are having navigation manager, we need to inject it by using constructor. That's your primary constructor. So if not, you have to create a constructor here and specify this nav manager in there. But here we're using the primary constructor, which was introduced in C# version 12. So we have it in here. Okay. Aside from that, we want to specify our start. So if I click on start connection, this is what I want to do. I am not starting a connection here. I want to start it separately so that I can click on this to start and not to stop this connection as well. Good. So in here, I have my start, and now we are checking if connection state is not equal to connected. That's where we want to start this. Else, skip this, and I go to this method get connection state. Okay. Now if I click on close connection to, I want to terminate this connection. So this means that the user wants to leave out from the chat or etc. So in that, we want to also check if the state here is connected. That is where we want to stop the connection. Aside from that, here we can use switch statement to check the state of the connection. Is it connected? Is it reconnecting? Is it connecting? Is it disconnected? So in here, within each, we are specifying. So we could see we have a switch of what hard connection dot state. And now we're going to invoke this method as a method that I created, and we're going to specify this message in, so we can have it set up to this connection state. You know, it initially set to empty, so you want to initialize. After initializing, we want to set the variable or the value to that variable in here. And now the last one I need to do here is that we're going to define this invoke method, and that is where we need to pass, or in case any of these becomes true, we want to just call this method and pass in the message in here to this, invoke it, and now boom, that is all. So once we have this, what we're going to do here is we're going to save this. Now let's go to our solution, so our program for our WebAssembly, and what we're going to do here is we need to register this. So make sure you grab that, and now we go to our register. So SignalR connection, that's a class that you created. Make sure you do that. Alright, so now that we have with this, what we're going to do here is we go to our pages and our home. Let's go in there and subscribe this. So first of all, what we're going to do here is we have to inject. So let's inject this in our class that you created. We need to inject it on top like this. So we have a SignalR connection, and now this is coming from the namespace of WebAssembly SignalR connection. Okay. And also, once you have this, you can also implement disposable, because we're going to dispose this. We're going to subscribe to a method, and now when we get undispose, when the page is disposing, we have to unsubscribe to that. So let's have this at code section, and now in the code section, since we have this, we can unsubscribe from that. And now that is when the page is disposing, and now when the page, or when you click on start and stop, what you want to do, these are the things that you want to perform. We have disposed, that's why we are unsubscribing from this status change. And now if I click on stop button, I want to close the connection. If I click on start, I want to start the connection. So maybe I can just have a name as connect and disconnect, right? So this sounds good. Okay, so now that we have this, what we're going to do here is when the page starts, we're going to initialize the page, and I'm going to create a list of message in here as a string. And I mean that when the page initializes, we want to subscribe to this event specified in the class or in the service, and also we need to join or subscribe to the method which will get called, and that's an all client notification. You pass in a statement, because this is a statement, we can extract the connection ID from it. So it's a statement you can pass, you can give it any name at all. After all, it's a string, so you can pass any name. And now the data type of this must correspond to what we're going to specify in here. So there's string, and here you have string. Then the list that message that we created, we're going to add the current statement that is coming in from the server to it. Then we notify the page. We're going to re-render the page. So whatever thing that we have in here is going to be looked on, and I'll get it displayed. After that, you have this start. Now what is this start going to do? This start here is going to start this connection. So here we made it as connect. So I'm going to copy this as connect, and I replace it here as connect. Okay. So after we join or we subscribe to this event, then start a connection. Good. So now that we have this, the next thing we're going to do here is we need to have a simple UI so we can display something in here. So let's see what I am doing. Maybe you can customize it to suit what you want, but this is what I want. Well, and this is a very simple one for you to get the understanding. So we have connect here, and this is connect, and we have disconnect. So let me grab this, disconnect instead of what? Stop. Okay. Now this is nav link. Okay, so this nav link just a link, or I can have it as a button. So maybe let me see, button btn. This is success btn small. Then here we're gonna have this is disconnect. So btn danger btn small as well. Okay. Now we have our test danger, so we can remove our test from here since we have this specified, it's inclusive, so we can remove that. Good. Now this is very simple. You see we are looping through our message in here and are displaying the message in that. Very simple. Now here is the footer, and you are displaying the state of the SignalR or the hub from that specific or single individual who has just connected as a client. Alright, so now that we have this, what we're going to do here is we're going to run this. But before we do that, let's configure startup project. So from the multiple startups, I want to start both at the same time, API first, then I have my assembly also launched. Once you have the two configured as multiple startup project, let's run both. So you can see that we have our project, the app is ready. Our API is ready. Now we have nothing in the API, so we are not much concerned with the API. All that we want to do here is we want to make sure that the API is running so that our hub will be active. Yes, and as far as it is running, we can now hide this and continue on with the client because that's where the focus on. Now let's see, here we are connected together. So if I click, we are connected already, isn't it? I said together. Oh, it's already. So connected. Now if I click on disconnect, see what's going to happen. So if I click on this, you see we are not disconnected. So let's see, I'm going to create a new tab in here, and now we're going to connect, okay, to this. Now this is the URL, so let's grab this. Now let's see once we are launching the app so we can get ourselves connected. So here, a new client is getting connected, and now this is connected. But you see there's no message for this guy because here it is disconnected. Now let's connect again. As soon as we connect, you see we have the message, and this message is what? This person has joined. Now with this the context the connection ID from the hub. Okay. Now let's see if I open another hub and I'll join a different user. Let's see what's going to happen. So I grab this one and I can open a new tab in here based on this. And now let's see. So a new person will be connected to this, and I can see we have notified. When you check the new one, we have the same thing notified. If I click on disconnect, see what happened. Now say disconnect, and now see, so this person just left, isn't it? Now check out this one, disconnect. This person also left, and now check it from here. You see, we have here this person also what? Left. So if I connect again, if I connect, you see I have it in here, and I want to come here, you see I have it. And now this time if I connect to, I have this also connected, and now the message also gets reflected here, and I have connected. Disconnect, and I have disconnected. Disconnect, I have disconnected. And also disconnect, I have what? Disconnected. Yeah, so that's a simple way to connect clients, and also creating service to for each client to have access to. Okay, making it very simple and easy way to implement it as well. We are going to look at how to send message to groups in .NET 8 Web API and Blazor WebAssembly using SignalR. I have already made a video on how to create hub connection and also hub service to interact between the Web API and our WebAssembly. So if you haven't checked that one out, check the video description and you can find it in there. This video, we are continuing that. But I'll also take you through this, okay? What we did previously, I'll take you through in this video as well. You know, SignalR is a package created by the ASP.NET Core team, and it actually helps us to communicate real time between our API and also on WebAssembly or in a Blazor application. It is full duplex. It means that as soon as event happens, it gets client notified. So you don't need to be calling that to get a current update. The system will actually push it to you. Then in this video, what are we going to do? The first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to work on the API first. Then we subscribe to this in the WebAssembly. In the API, we're going to create a hub. That's what we did in the previous video. Erase our hub, erase our course in there. And aside from that, we need to create a service so we can have access to group members. That is a predefined group members. Aside from that, we're going to create a controller so we can have access to group name, group members, and available groups, and a lot. Okay. And now when you go to the WebAssembly, we're going to create a service. Which service is going to get connected to the hub in the API. We're going to build a hub URL. We're going to create a service and erase the service, and I integrate this service in the Blazor component. That is all that we need to do in here. As you know, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, then you do that, and also don't forget to click on the notification bell to receive update as soon as I upload new content. You can like this video and find this video informative as well. So in here I have a solution created and I have a new project added. As you can see from here, web API, and I have a web assembly that is in .NET 8. Now with the web API, let's first look at how to work with the web API first. Then we come back to the WebAssembly. In the web API, what is the first thing that you need to do here is to create your hub service. After installing the SignalR package, you need to create a hub service. Now, what is this hub service going to do? In the hub service, we are having a group in here that's a predefined groups. And for the purpose of this video, I made 3 groups: administrators, managers, and our users, as you can see from line 8. The next one here is we have the connection groups. What is this connection we're going to do? Actually, it is concurrent dictionary. Why do I use concurrent dictionary? I use that because concurrent dictionary is a thread-safe dictionary to store group names and our client connection IDs. Concurrent dictionary implements lock to concurrent threads. Threads are the requests that come in from the users. So let's say 2 users want to access this at the same time. This concurrent dictionary has a capacity to handle these threads. Aside from that, we have some method in there. Get members, we pass in the group name, and now since this connection here is going to handle the ID and also the group name of each user, we can now have the group IDs as a key, and we're going to have the group names as well, the values. So we want to grab all the keys into a list. We want to create a list of group members, look through the connection IDs. Now with each connection ID, we want to find the value and check if the value here is equal to the group name. Okay, and the group name that I'm going to pass in here, if it is, then add it to this group. So when we pass in administrators group, at the end of the day, we're going to get all members who have this administrators group. We return it at the end of the day in line 20. The next one here is we want to check. It's a Boolean method. We want to check if the user is already in a group. The motive of this here is we don't want user to join 2 or more groups. One user can join a group at a time. If you want to join another group, then you have to disconnect and now connect again and now join a new group. That is what this system is about. Then in that, we pass in the connection ID, and now since we have this as a dictionary which contains a key and now the value as our connection ID and then the group name, we can now make a search and see. So you pass in the connection ID as a key. Then we need to get an out variable as a value. Okay, and in that the value here is the group name. So we check if group name is not there already, then we can return true or false. Then we're going to find the group name. So pass in the group name, and we're going to get if the group exists. Now that is a group in here. We have 3 groups in here. So the group that you pass in there, if it doesn't correspond with any of these, then we're going to return false. Get group name, get user group name, pass in the current connection ID, and I'll give you the group name. Get available groups. Since we have the chat groups as a list of strings already, we can return it as a available groups because this is predefined group that we have created. If you're implementing database, then there's no need for you to create this in here. Put this or store this in the database. make a query from it, and I'll return it. From the concurrent dictionary too, you can also do that. You can store these IDs and now the connection group name in a database. So you can be calling this anytime that you want. Okay, let's maintain this for now because we are not implementing database here. So we have a service here, nicely created, very simple one, and that is the work that is going to do to help us. Okay, now that we have our service, what's the next thing to do? We have to create our connection, and that's a SignalR Hub connection. We did this in the previous video, but here we have done, or we're going to do some modification to this. When client get connected or when a client get disconnected, we want to notify all client. So that's the reason why we override this method, unconnected and undisconnected. So when it's connected, we want to send message to all that this person has left. If joined, we want to do same, this person just joined. Aside from that, here we have our undisconnected. You know, in our groups, when the user disconnects, we want to remove the connection ID. We don't want the ID to persist while the user is out. No, we want to remove it so that we can see the available users or the online or the connected users for that specific group only. So that's the reason why we have this method implemented from a hub connection group. That is a dictionary. We want to pass in the key, and now we need to find an add variable as the value. So you put it as a group name. Now this group name, it is useful because we're going to get the group members, and a group member, there's a method known as get members, and that is why we need to specify the group name. So the group name that we have in here as an add variable, kindly pass it on here. We have your group members. Once you have the group members, that's an updated members minus the current user who just left. Pass it on to notify group of new join, and then here is a list of string. So pass it on here and now get the current users to that specific group. The next method here is to send message to a specific group. So what do you need? We need the group name, we need the message that the person wants to send. After that, you can see client.group passing the group name and now send a sync. This is a method that we're going to subscribe to that in the client section. We pass in the current connection ID and also the message of the user. Join group, that is where we want to join. Before we join that, we want to find out if that group that the user want to join exists, because the user has to provide group name. So search and verify if the group exists. So line 23 is going to set. In case it does exist, then we're going to check is the user already in another group. So we find it from the hub service, and in case it isn't, then we want to assign the ID of the user to the group name as a value. ID will be the key, value will be going to be the group name in the connection groups. Aside from that, we want to add it to a group from the groups here, and I will be passing the connection ID and then the group name. In case the user is already joined, then you want to just get the members in here and now send it, notify the group of new join. Or after the user has been added to a group, we want to get the members in here because user has been added and now the group members have increased. So you want to get the members again and then notify the client that new person is joined. So now that we have our hub, what is the next thing that we're going to do? Let's go to our program.cs file. We have to register our service. So register the hub service, register SignalR, and also add your course to it. After that, you need to register, you have to build the URL for the hub. Good. Now that we are done with this, we can create our controller to utilize the service. Create in the controllers folder, have a new controller known as the hub service controller, which implements only 3 methods. This endpoint get group name is going to get us the group name. This is going to get us available groups. Currently, we have only 3 predefined groups, and this endpoint is going to give us when a client make a call to this. The next one is the client going to provide connection ID, and this service or this endpoint is going to exchange it with the group name. Fantastic. Very simple. That is what we are doing in here. Good. So now that we have our connection, our API, our server ready, what we're going to do here is to tackle the WebAssembly, isn't it? Great. So in the WebAssembly, what we're going to do here is we're going to create our connection. That's a connection service. In that, we're going to build our URL. So as you can see from here, in the primary constructor introduced in C# version 12, line 6, we are injecting a navigation manager. In that, you have an action in here. Now this action is going to notify as soon as the user state changes from connection connected, disconnected, reconnecting, and etc. We can get all of these endpoints from the hub. So we can do this to get the component notify as soon as the state changes. We build a URL, we specify the route to the API. Then we're going to start connection manually. So we have this to start connection async. We want to close connections to disconnect the connection. And in here, we want to check, get a connection state. If the state here, we're going to use the switch, right? So if the state here is equal to connected, then do this, invoke disconnected. Invoke method here is a method that we have created, and we're going to pass in the message that we want to display. Okay? Then we have connecting, do same, reconnecting, do same, disconnected, do same. In case you don't have any of this, then error occurred. Good. So now that we have this, because this is a method that we're doing, we're going to assign this connection state here as this message. We're going to pass the message from this invoke, and that's what you're doing for each of the case method. Okay, so now that we have this connection created, what's the next thing that we're going to do? We have to go to program and register this connection. So we're doing that in here, and now we are binding the URL of the API to this base address of this HTTP, because we're going to make an HTTP call to that. Once you're done with that, we go to our home component, and that's where we are going to do the magic in here. We inject our HTTP client, we implement our disposable, we inject our SignalR connection class that we just created. In here, we have available groups. We're going to give you available groups. Aside from that, we have our connection and a disconnect. So 2 buttons to connect and a disconnect. Display all online users in here. And aside from that, display the connection state. So if connected, display if disconnecting, display if connecting, display. So you're going to display all the state in there. In here, we're going to get the group members. So if I click on this button, I want to join this group. Then I want to, as soon as you get me joined, display all the members in here. So within the group, we're going to have the current or the connected members for the specific group. Put in mind that we created a predefined groups, 3 groups, isn't it? I hope you do remember. That's great. So as soon as you join each of the group in here, you're going to have the member display beneath. And that's what we are displaying that in this card body. When you go to group name, we have a table that we're going to display group name chat. So the group name here is going to be the administrator, the users, or the managers. So we're going to have managers chat, administrators chat, and etc. Now, all the message that you're going to type, put them here. So you can see we have the chat message, and I'm looking through this chat message, and I'm displaying them one after the other. Here, you want to change, you want to shift left and right. If I'm the one sending, it should be on my, that is on my right. If the client is just connecting to me or chatting me, it should be on the left. So we are having this method as format default message and using this markup string. In this, we are implementing just an HTML element to move left and right. And also, aside from that, you want to have a break. So the break is what we have this markup string. Break and also the EM tag to actually underline or italize the sender. We do same if it contains this connection ID, that is my message, shift it to the end. That's what you see, left is 75. If it's from the person, then left it was 0. So shift to the right. So here, this is going to be the left, I think so, and that is going to be the right. Yes. So for my message, it should be on the right. For the client message, it should be on the left. Aside from that, we have a text area, and we have the button as send message, which has this event bound to it. So this is the code for that. We have a message, we have a group name. This is the chat group members, and that we have our available groups. This is an online users chat message. So all these are lists of string. As you can see, this is an iterable of string. We're going to hold members, groups, users, and also chat messages. When the page initializes for the first time, you want to subscribe to the state change event in the service that you created. Aside from that, we have a method known as subscription. Now, subscription here has about 3 methods that are going to subscribe to the hub. All client notification, notify a group of new join, and our chat. In that, you see we have a list that we are adding. Each. We are adding group members, and here we're going to get the group members, and here we're going to add the chat message. Aside from that, you can see we have connection ID created in here because if we want to send this connection ID, if you want to send message, as soon as the user gets connected, you need to store the connection ID somewhere, and that's the reason why we're doing it in here. So when the user gets connected, we're going to notify this, and in that we can have the connection ID stored in here. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is we want to get a group name. So we call this service passing the connection ID. Since it is available now, we can get it. When we are done, then invoke this method, send message to group, passing this connection ID, the group name, and the message that the user has just typed. After that, clear the content. Now get groups, available groups, call this endpoint in the controller to get you the available groups. Now load groups here is when the user clicks on join. So you see from here, get group members, and now aside from that, get status change. Now this groups here is going to get available groups. It's not going to get available groups. This method is going to get the available group, but this method is going to get the groups related to a specific, or the members related to a specific group. So that's why we have this method get group members, passing a group name, and this method is going to return the list of what group members in that specific group. Join group here, it is where we call the join group method, and now we want to save this to the concurrent dictionary. So in there, we're going to specify the connection ID as a key, and now the group name as a value. Get group members, we pass the group name, and now from the endpoint, we want to get the group members from this group name. Now in here, we have our format foreign message and our format default message. Now you see we are appending the break to that. And that's what we have a left and right display. So you can see we are splitting, getting the first one, getting the last one, and that we can manipulate it and now reformat it again. So we're doing it from here and now this. If I click on connect, start connection, click on disconnect, disconnect, close connection. And now when page disposes, you want to unsubscribe to this state change event specified in our service. That is exactly what we're doing. That is all. Very simple and clear. Now let's go to our program and register this. So we've done this already. You have to register the service in our connection and also add this base address to the API. Good. Now we can now run this and check it out. So I'm building or running this as multiple projects. So let's click on this to start it up, and now let's check it out. Alright, so you can see that our apps have launched, and in there if we check from our controller, we have the endpoint. We have this endpoint group name, available groups, and also get the user group name. But we are not much interested in this. Now let's check from our client, our Blazor application. You can see from here that we have this available groups. We have administrator group, we have managers, and now we have users. This is calling this from the service that we created in the Hub service through the controller. This person has joined, so you can see we have this person joined, and the state here is what's connected. You can disconnect, so see what happened. Disconnect, and this state was changed to disconnected. I can connect again, and now you can see it has joined, so you have connected. Aside from that, we can also click on this, and now as soon as I click on that, you see we have this pop-up, and that is the administrators members. So here there's no member in there, and I can decide to join this. As soon as I join this page is going to get notified through the hub, and now I can have the current user down here. So check it out. That is my ID. This is your ID in there, and now this is your ID. So it means this group you are connected. Now let's see. So I'm going to create this, another one in here. This person also going to get connected. Now let's see here, we're going to have it notified. Yes, so we have a new person connected. Now this person can click on admin, and now this person sees that, okay, there's one connection. Let's see, let me also join this. So you can see we have two people connected, two clients connected. Check here, we have it in there. Now there's an admin, so this person can now start chatting. So hi from admin, and now see what's going to happen. Click on send. You see we have it down here. That's the format from default, and this is going to be from the other side. Now check here. You can see we have it from the other side, isn't it? We have the break, and that's all from the other side. Now this person is going to respond. So hi from, let me make it as welcome from admin. Send, and now you have it in there. Now go to the other side. You see we have it here. Welcome from admin. We have it in there. Now these people are in the administrators group. Let's open another group as manager. So I'm going to grab this one, then open the next tab, put it down here, and now within this we're going to join as manager. So let's join this manager group. So join this. Let's also grab it, and now another one. That person also going to join manager group. Let's say the chat that they're going to chat within the group. Let's see if it's going to get reflected in that group or not. Now, so this is the manager, and I'll join this. So on the manager group, we have 2 people join. Now, hi from manager. Now click on send, and I see what happened. This person gets it, hi from manager. Then I'll type welcome from manager. Welcome from manager. And now this person also gets it. Now let's go to the administrator and check. Do you have it in here? No, we don't. So that's it that each group can now have their private chat. All that you need to do here is to join the group and now start chatting. When you have any subsequent requests or any subsequent joins, you're going to get notified. You're going to see that, and now you can start chatting the person. You can actually modify this. This video is helping you to know how to connect to a group and also how to chat in groups using SignalR in Web API and Blazor WebAssembly. So let's go to our source code and try to modify what we have in here to suit what we want now. Alright, now this, when the client gets connected, we want to add this. You know, we have this connected client, and that is the list that we are creating in here. So when user gets connected, we want to add the user to this. So at the end, we're going to have a list of connected clients in here, and we can display that. So you know, when a user gets connected, we're going to call this method, because this is a method that we subscribed in that component. That's a Blazor application. So within that, you know, we are passing in connected client. And now with this, we can remove this, but we just pass it on. Although we are not using, but this is going to hold the current user connection ID. We have this as a list, which includes this connection ID. So here it has no use. You can remove it. Okay. Now, aside from that, when the client disconnects, maybe we can also remove it as from here. So you can see that this connected client, we also want to remove this connection ID in here from the list. And now when we do that, we are also calling the same method in here and passing in the list of the client. So we can have it updated. Now when you come here, in the previous video, we had a look on send message to group, but this time around, we are going to send message to individual. We're going to pass in the receiver connection ID and also the message that the receiver want to send. Okay, no, you want to send to the receiver. So in that, we're going to check in case this is false, then we are going to add these messages to this pending message. So as soon as the user tries to view the message, this will set automatically to true. So setting this to false means the user hasn't clicked on it to read the message. And in that, we set this to false, and we're going to add this to the pending. In case this is set to true, that is when the user clicks on view to view the message, then we're going to have this. We're going to clear the messages in here, because by then the user would have gotten the messages that was sent to him. So the main thing here is to send the message to a specific client, and in that we can do this getting the client in here .client, and now we need to specify the client ID. That is the core of what we're doing. You see, so passing the ID in here, and that is all. It's going to send this message directly to this specific client if and only this specific client is connected. Good. And now we call the chat method. We pass in the context ID, that's the current user ID, and now the message as well. That's very simple. So this is all that we need to do in here. Okay, this is the most important thing. As for this, it's just something that I did to beautify. Let's say beautify or add something small to it. But that is what you need to do. There is a way to send message to a specific client. And also, I added one method, and that is found at the base here. It is retrieve old messages. So you can see from here, we're having a list of string, and I will checking if pending message is equal to 0. It means there's no pending message. Then we want to return. But in case you have more than that, then we want to loop through it and now add this message, this statement to this message that we have as a list that we have created in here. After that, we want to set this to true. And the next thing we're going to do here is we want to call this, invoke this method. So you can see that we haven't send async and I retrieve old messages. So this method will be invoked when the user clicks on or connects that you want to chat. Okay, that is where we're going to call this message as well. Then we're going to pass in the message, which is a list of string in here. So we have two methods added, and that is what that we should do to connect or communicate or create a connection between. That's a one-to-one chat. Okay. Now the next thing that we're going to do here is to go to our Blazor WebAssembly app, and now from our home component, we're going to subscribe to that event. And now in that, where we have our subscription, we're going to add one more, and that's a retrieve old messages. So you can see that this return a list of string, and that's what we have in here. Now, if this method gets invoked, we want to have the sent, or we want to assign the list of string that we have as the messages to the chat message in here, once you've looped through this to display it on the screen. And now, aside from that, if I click on send message, this was meant for the group. If I click on send message, we want to send the message in here. So you can see we are invoking this method, send message to individual. We pass in the connection ID and add the message. Okay. Then we're going to add this message to the chat, because you want to see the sender's message and the receiver's message. So you also have to add it in there. And I will clear the variable here, so you can have a free space to type in the next message. So aside from this, what we're going to do here is we want to check the UI. We want the user to click on a specific client connected, so we can have access to the chat. So you can see from here we have when you check this online users, this is going to give you the whole list of connected clients. In this, we're making this as what? Clickable. We are adding an event to it, and I will call this as chat user. Now with this chat user method, we are passing in the connection ID in here. So the connection ID, that is what we're passing on here, and that's what we want to use to send message. Now this chat user here, or this a variable that we pass on here, it is not the current user ID. It is a receiver's connection ID. Take note. Now in that, we have to define a method for that, and I did that at the base. So when you check, you can see that we're having this, and we are retrieving or having a parameter known as receiver connection ID. In that, we want to trim it, because the ID here first it was, if you remember, connection ID just join. We want to just trim it, and I remove just join, and I'll get only the connection ID. So I just split it, trim it, and I'll pick the first one, that's the index of 0. And now if I'm going to check if it is equal to this connection ID, then I want to tell the user that you cannot message yourself. Yes, so you can message somebody else. And in case it does not equal to what we have already, that's the current user connection ID, then we want to call this, invoke this retrieve old messages to check if the current user has old messages in there. In case it has it, it's going to call that. In case it doesn't, then it's also going to proceed, and that's going to pave way for communication to happen between the sender and the receiver. So we are not doing something much in here. It is just some few touches to make this work. Good. That is all that I need to do. This is very simple. Yeah, that's all that I need to do. Now, once you're done with this, what we're going to do here is we're going to run this application, and I'll see what, at the end, what you're going to see. So when the app runs, this is what we have in here. We have this online user. So we have only one connected, and that's the current one. If I click on this to chat, you can see you cannot message yourself. And I believe you know the reason why we're having this, isn't it? Now let's also copy this, and I'll connect another one. So here I'm getting connected to the hub, and now let's see, I'm going to have this you can see updated. Now this person has connected, and now when you go here to this person has also connected. If I click on disconnect, it's going to clear everything here, because if you're disconnected, you cannot see connected client. And now when you go, you can see that we have only one, that's the main one in here, this current user. Click on connect again, and now you're going to have it again, and I'm going to see this in here as well. Okay, now let's go and implement the chat. So I'm going to click on this. So this is the current one, so I'm going to click on this. Now we have the chat in here. Now I'm going to, so let's start. No, we have not connected to this, so but we have connected to that in this end. Now let's see. So hi, Now if I click on send, we have hi from here, but when you go here, you're not receiving anything. But as soon as you click on this, not that one, here, this one, you can see you're going to retrieve the message, and that's a pending message. You're going to retrieve it from here, and now you can respond also as hi. And now as soon as you do that, you check, you're going to have it in here. Then you can now keep on the chat. So how are you? You can now move on with this. It's very simple. Okay, fine, and you can now move ahead with it. Yes. So you see, sending message to individual is very simple. All that you need to do here is to call the client, and now when you have the client, you have to specify the client and now pass in the connection ID that you want to send the message to. That is all that you need to do. So very simple one. Okay, we call the client in here, and I pass in the client, and I pass in the connection ID. That is the person who has already connected to the hub. His connection ID, and now you can send this message directly to that person. Now the method that you're going to pass on here is what you're going to subscribe to. As soon as this method is being invoked, and now it's going to get it rendered, and everything that you pass on here, you can retrieve it in there as you've seen. So you can see this is very simple. Yeah. So I think that is the end of this video. We've seen how to create service for the SignalR Hub, how to message group, and also how to message individual. Yes, so that is all. And I'm going to catch up again. Till then, take care.